Allow me to make a personal note. I am very honored to be here when she receives this grand award. I would like also to thank her for her work, which has not only encouraged others to be better understand us, but has also contributed to our own understanding of who we really are.
The current political situation in Hungary is marked by a shrinking public sphere, a waning free press, anti-EU sentiment, surge of nationalism, and the so-called cultural war waged by Viktor Orban and his allies. Can you explain the urge of the ruling class for such radical constitutional and legislative changes implemented over the years? How do you personally feel about discussing the loss of freedom of expression in Europe in 2024?
When you ask about the urge of the ruling class, I would like to read a quotation which was said in 2018 in Tusnádfürdő, wherein every year Orbán gives a speech which is kind of foreshadowing what will happen in the next period. An era is always more than a political system. An era is a special and characteristic cultural reality. An era is a spiritual order determined by cultural trends, collective beliefs, and social construct. We must embed the political system in a cultural era. So this was a kind of signal that it is not just important to get the political power, but also the cultural power. What idea is behind this? I believe that Gramsci, Italian radical Marxist thinker, and all his ideas, not just in Hungary, everywhere by the extreme right, appropriated and used for the rightist political end. He wrote all these pieces in the prison in the 30s. After realizing that the revolutionary upheaval is over, then wanted to figure out that what is the problem with traditional Orthodox Marxism. Just in a nutshell. And he realized that as the Orthodox used to say that just the base is important, he said that the superstructure is also important, namely the culture. So, and he was speaking about cultural hegemony. If you have control over all kind of cultural institution, you are in power. This regime understood this message, and they used it for their purposes. I like very much to use the metaphor, the close encounter of the third kind, which means that the aliens appear. First encounter is just sightseeing, looking around what is happening. The second encounter, leaving physical traces. And the third one, the total invasion. Because this is what happened in 2010, it was just looking around. In 2014, when they won again the election, then they started to take over the public sphere and building monuments and reconstructing the square in front of the parliament, taking over the institutions. And the third one was the total invasion. And it was made, I have to say, devilishly and cleverly. Very cleverly, very patiently, and attacking only just one segment of culture at a time, which was devilish in that meaning that all the other parts of culture could think that, oh, it is not our problem, which kind of killed solidarity and collaboration. And you have to think about it, it's 14 years, so it is almost like cooking a frog on very low heat. So doesn't even recognize that he was cooked. This was the question, what is my...
How you feel about the situation this 2024, today?
Yes, terrible. Truly terrible and suffocating, because you can feel that the space where you can move is narrowing and narrowing. What went wrong? As I explained, that they changed everything. absolutely everything, and very slowly. So started with changing the constitution, and they change all laws, all basic laws. You cannot even follow what is happening. So one day, centralization of all institutions, the second day, attacking education.
So your impression is people just got used to it. It's a status quo they slowly accepted.
How can I put it? It was normalized.
How have these losses of freedom and legislative changes in Hungary affected its position within the international art community?
Very badly. First of all, because critical contemporary artists who are dealing with burning questions do not get money, do not get commission, cannot be exhibited, cannot be seen. In small alternative spaces, yes, but basically in a wider sense or in a wider society, they simply disappeared. And in our field, it is not like that you sit in your studio and write your Roman or your poems. You have to produce something and to be shown. So all those possibilities narrowed down. So we can hardly find strong new productions. There are many obstacles. But at the same time, for example, there is this off-biennial led by actually women curators, and their basic idea is not to accept money from the state. And not to collaborate with the state. So this is in itself a statement. They try to find some, let's say, private spaces or abandoned spaces. But actually this is also more difficult because, for example, galleries, they are simply afraid to collaborate. Because if they would, they do not get, let's say, possibility to advertise in art magazines. So there will be punishment, not that direct as in the time of socialism, but still somehow they will be after him or her.
You've been part of groundbreaking research projects such as Patterns Lectures and Gender Check, alongside pioneers like Bojana Page and the late Piotr Piotrowski. You shared a common goal: to ensure that Eastern European art and art history are seen and heard on the global stage. Do you feel that this effort to gain international recognition has been successful?
Yes and no. For example, at Routledge, quite a lot of book was published about Eastern Central European issues, specific professional academic issues, but on the other hand, and especially I would like to refer Piotrowski's ideas, this horizontal art history. The basic idea was that a hierarchical system would be demolished and let's run parallel those histories, those narratives from other regions. It is not just East Central Europe, other regions as well. In a way, I was all the time skeptical with this because it seemed to me, while a wonderful idea, wishful thinking. My main problem was how could those people and those institutions who are in power give up this power and share the scene or share the narrative. I think that Piotrowski's main problem was a kind of fear that the region would disappear and would kind of immerse into Europe, and then it will be the old and dominating Europe, and within that the differences would not be seen, which is a real fear. I mean, seeing from outside. For example, the newcomers, Global South, they would like to be seen and heard as well. And for them, Europe or Eastern Europe within is not seen. From that far, these subtle differences are not seen.
How would you define the political role of artists and art workers in such times, whether in Hungary or any other country experiencing democratic decline?
I believe that, which is very, very important and getting flying away in the official kind of understanding of art, is that art by default is critical, not in a didactic meaning, of course, but critical in that way that have to reflect what is happening and can find such spots which is not so obvious in this very fastly moving society. So this reflection and criticality, I believe, very important. Art can open up eyes for mechanism. I can say an example. When we organized in 2015 a traveling exhibition in the region, Private Nationalism. All the artists reflected on nationalism, different part. How does it work? What is the psychology of it? What are the rituals they use? And it was quite successful. Actually, was not advertised in the official media. Still, people liked it because somehow understood that kind of processes which is just happening so quickly, so fast, and so much normalized that you cannot stop and trying to understand. This critical attitude to what is going on is very important, and this do not have to be a direct political, let's say, agitative something, but go beyond it or get into the cracks which is not seen. Martin Piacek made small statues about what are the most shameful moments of Slovakian history. So this is something totally different on which nationalism built on the heroic, pathetic, so on and so forth. Or let's say a Hungarian artist, Szabolcs Kispár, reflected on Trianon, which is such an important core issue for Hungarians, especially for the official political trends. He showed how it's constructed. And one more thing why I do find it very important, especially now you emphasize that today the world is full of pictures, and pictures could be very seducing, not just like the advertisement, and they can go under the skin and you will be totally seduced. And for example, the Alliance, Memorial to Alliance, so seductive and uses all element of visuality. If you go there, you will cry there. That is why it has to be another kind of use of visuality. So I do believe that artists has absolutely responsibility and role, not just today, but for example, for the future generation to understand what the hell is happening.
Now let's announce the recipient of the Igor Zabel Award 2024.
You have arrived to Ljubljana today to the Igor Zabel Award. How do you feel about being the Hungarian receiver of this particular award, and where do you see it in a broader context?
Coming to Ljubljana was a peculiar, strange feeling, and I thought back to the time when it was Yugoslavia. I always was an advocate, an ardent advocate of regionalism, which I do think a kind of remedy against nationalism, because for example, the psychology of nationalism is based on that the differences are exaggerated and we are keen to see ourselves much better and the other, which we otherize, in a much worse light. I believe that one part is this regionalism, which is not just mine merit, but also it seems to me that Igor Zabel Award is also for that regionalism and provides a kind of safety net. That, and this is a coincidence, and this is why I'm very pleased that I got this award because I represent something for which this award stands for.
Edith András.
Igor Zabel Award is for these values: transnationality, collaboration, regionalism.
And this is now absolutely a burning issue. We simply have to steer, despite all those desperate feelings and all this depression, kind of cultural depression, we simply have to do it, at least analyze. What else could we do? Analyze, speak about it, making work about it. And this kind of activity, earning this award, is an affirmation